Not only the strangest, but also one of the most embarrassing things I've experienced. A close friend and I had been partying a lot, making poor decisions, drinking heavily, and not really caring about our actions or who we were with. We drove about 3 hours to keep up with our bad decisions. My friend blacked out in the car, and I couldn't get him to wake up. He wasn't breathing much, and wouldn't respond to anything I did to try and wake him. Eventually, he woke up, looking confused. I noticed his headlight was out, and since it was dark, he was in no condition to drive, and I didn't have a license. So, we decided the best thing to do was to get a hotel nearby, sober up, and head home in the morning. We stopped at a gas station a mile away to grab a drink and look for hotels. An older woman we didn't know came up to our car and asked for a lighter. She had clearly been crying, and we gave her one. After talking for a bit, she mentioned that her boyfriend had gotten mad at her and gone to a hotel for the night, but she knew of one nearby. Then she offered us a place to stay at her house, just behind the gas station, to save money. At that point, we were a little too drunk to think clearly and agreed. She was kind, though a heavy drinker, and we all got pretty drunk together. She even gave me a guitar, which she recorded me playing and shared on her Facebook. We taught her how to use her phone and showed her how to check messages, which led her to reconnect with an old flame. Later, she tried to flirt with us, but we were too drunk for anything to happen, and we just let it go. After that night, we continued visiting her a few more times whenever we went to that city, but things never got weird again. She was lonely, and we took her out for car rides and listened to music. Eventually, she called saying she had reconnected with the guy and was doing better. That was the last time we heard from her, and I've tried reaching out since, but haven't gotten a response. I just hope she's okay. A long time ago, I went to my weed dealer's apartment to pick up some weed. He was a tough guy, tatted up and hanging around shady characters. When I got there, he had 2 kittens he had just adopted. One of the kittens immediately took a liking to me, and while we were passing around a blunt with the tough crowd, I was sitting in a chair, and the cat just jumped on my chest, purring and kneading my chest. It was a bizarre situation. This tough guy surrounded by hard characters and me, just chilling with a kitten on my chest. When I was around 6 or 7, I went to a friend's house after school to try out their new PlayStation. It was a big deal for us because we weren't well off, and the PlayStation had just come out. Their older brother, around 16 or 17, took the controller from me and blocked the TV, which wasn't unusual since he was always a jerk. My friend yelled at him, but the older brother just laughed until he suddenly collapsed in my lap, convulsing and foaming at the mouth. I froze, not knowing what to do. His mom ran in, screaming, and ushered us out while calling 911. I went home, but my mom wouldn't let me visit my friend after that. A couple of weeks later, I found out his brother had overdosed. Flash forward 20 years, and I'm in therapy and an addict myself. I realized that the trauma from that day helped me stay away from drugs. I never wanted my family to experience what I saw. I've been sober for 6 years now, and I have a fiancé, a house, a good job, and a baby on the way. Miss you, Nick. I went to a friend's house once, and while we were there, someone started yelling and swearing at him from another room. It was loud, threatening, and abusive. It was his dad, but his dad didn't realize I was there. The kid just remained calm, telling me that maybe we should go for a walk. What unnerved me was how cool the kid was about it, like this was just another part of his day. When I was a kid, I went over to a friend's house, and at some point, their whole family sat down to have dinner. I wasn't asked to join them, so I just stayed in the living room and played on their Atari while they ate. At a birthday party at someone's house, she divided us into groups and made us write songs about her. It was awkward, to say the least. I was at a sleepover at a friend's house, and their family of 6 ran out of toilet paper. Even though there were 7-Eleven and other stores nearby, they decided to use what they called the family towel, complete with poop stains tacked to the wall. I held my pee all night and ended up almost getting a kidney infection the next morning. I called my dad to pick me up early. My highest voted comment is about the Hill family poop towel, and I'm pretty sure my dad would have been proud. In college, my friend and I stayed at their parents' house for a festival. They were big into reptiles, and nearly every room in the house had some kind of reptile enclosure. When I went to the bathroom, I noticed a huge boa constrictor enclosure on one wall and a kiddie pool on the other side. As I was peeking in the boa's enclosure, the kiddie pool started moving towards me with a loud thump, thump, thump. To my surprise, it was a grumpy tortoise, who started bashing the side of the pool with its shell. It moved the pool all the way to my foot and continued banging on the pool. When I left the bathroom, it followed me to the sink. I later learned the tortoise was just cranky because it hadn't gotten its food or sun. We fed it some greens and had a fun afternoon. I was staying with my best friend and her fiancé's family when I had a disturbing experience. The first night I was there, I went to use the bathroom and noticed a strange noise coming from the cabinet. When I looked, I saw her 9-year-old nephew watching me through the crack in the door, grinning at me. I told him to get out, and he did, but kept grinning. Over the next 2 days, he kept finding ways to watch me while I was showering, changing, or in the bathroom. I had to start checking for him hiding in rooms, and even had my friends stand guard while I used the bathroom. The last straw was when I found him in my room, watching me sleep. I ended up sleeping on the floor in my friend's room. My friend later told me this kid had done similar things before, but his parents just shrugged it off. It was a very uncomfortable experience, and I ended up leaving the trip early. I still get creeped out thinking about that kid. I stayed at my friend's house and discovered that her family only used red light bulbs in the house because an astrologer told them to. It was certainly unique. I met a couple at work, and they invited my fiancé and me over for dinner. It started as a normal dinner, but by the end, 2 other couples showed up, and they tried to convince us to join their swingers group. They sneakily brought it up, but we politely declined. When I was about 10, my cousins and I were staying at my grandma's house in Oklahoma. My Uncle Rick came home drunk and got loud, so my grandma started yelling and hitting him with a rolled-up magazine. My other uncle, Cecil, who was only 4 years older than us, told us to hide at the creek. We ran down there at midnight and stood there for 10 minutes before heading back. We came in with muddy feet and leaves in our hair, and my grandma started yelling at us for being outside. When we told her we were hiding at the creek, we pointed at Uncle Cecil, who was laughing. She chased him around, beating him with the magazine. We all jumped in bed and covered our heads until it quieted down.